Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the secondary channel. Today I don't have any particular questions to answer, but I want to simply share some of my thoughts when it comes to some of my recent videos. Well, a specific video. So, what happened? Recently I posted a video on the purity seals, that is, these artifacts that are worn in the Warhammer 40k franchise to ward off demons, which look like literal wax seals bound to the external battle armor that are supposed, and these wax seals bear parchment with prayer that are intended to ward off the attacks against those specific, combatants. Honestly, in all of my time as a content creator, I've never received such vitriolic, hate as I did for that video. So not the Tall Houses video, not the Quadriano videos, no, it's that specific one, which really made me realize that at least in the Orthodox convert Western sphere, we do have a major OrthoLARP problem. In addition, the Orthodox meme squad have posted a flag that is sort of a mishmash of the Byzantine flag and Warhammer 45 flag. And it has like the double-headed eagle with Isahas Nika, and under it it's something about repentance, and somebody tagged me and said, you will die of cringe. And I said, no, I won't, because this is clearly merch. This isn't something that's blessed in a church and sold as a holy item. So a lot of people, they think that this is base, this is great, and so on. However, I honestly really think that a lot of people are missing out on the spiritual implications of these things. So, let me start from the beginning. One of the first things you should learn, or should know, or should absorb when it comes to practicing Orthodox spirituality is not to be carried by your emotions. Emotions have their place. They're not necessarily evil, but when we let emotions rule our spiritual life or determine what is good or what is not in our spiritual life, we are literally running into a disaster. And there are so many things I want to unpack here. First of all, that is why the Orthodox spirituality is so opposed to the spirituality of Ignatius of Loyola, who did promote imagining that you were in the scene with these gospel characters, to draw it in. Because, first of all, emotions are deceptive. We need to be good Christians even when it doesn't feel like it, and that is, again, there are so many things I want to unpack here. I should have made the notes for this. When you let emotions rule you, you will stop practicing spirituality when it becomes dull and boring. And one of the sad things about spiritual life, generally it is very, very boring. In the sense it's everyday, it's very mundane. Mundane is the better word. The sad thing about the lives of the saints is the way that they're written. Of course, that people will, emphasize the miracles, the majestic episodes, but in practically all cases, they generally won't mention the everyday. Oh, he said his prayer rule every day. Oh, he fasted regularly. And, it is implied that they do that, but it's like you're watching this spectacle, but they're not showing that they're eating food every day. And they're like, wow, this is so, I need to do exactly what they're doing here, so I won't eat food because they never show it. That's essentially what we're talking about here. Because you are basing your spiritual life on what's cool, what's based, what's, you know. However, that means that you won't do the mundane things because they're boring, they're dull, and so on. And then you will essentially wither away. When that happens, of course, the worst case scenario is apostasy, because then you will move on to something that's cooler. Like, wow, Islam is so cool, or wow, this or that religion is cool, sorcery is cool, you know. That's the worst case scenario. Far more common scenario is that you won't practice your spirituality at all, but you will carry this Orthodox Christianity as an ideology, as a purity seal, in order to one-up others. And that is where things go really haywire, because then you're literally using Christ as a club to bash others, and there's no Christ in it, you know, because you will find it based, oh, he showed him, oh, we showed them. I think that a lot of this OrthoLARPing, as it is, comes from our very problematic view of authority, of power, of our desire to impose ourselves and what we think of orthodoxy upon others. And when it comes down to it, it's nothing, you know. Again, God reigns in our hearts. The kingdom of heaven is within. And you can't do that with imposing, with force, with so on. And a lot of people, and one of the major reasons why so many, again, most didn't, or were at least nice enough not to be absolute ghouls about it, oppose the Purity Seals video, is that, you know, they like the imperium of man, and one has to really ask themselves, why? Why does this fascist, pagan, lich-worshipping cult is so admired by so many Orthodox converts? I think generally converts, because one thing that cradles technically have nailed is that the religion isn't entertainment for them, and it is for many converts. Then again, the opposite things are true as well, because converts generally tend to be zealots, and cradles are, you know, happy-go-lucky. I do what I did all my life. But that's a completely different, you know, conversation, and you're probably aware of it. I don't need to repeat myself and so on. But again, to nail it home, why I think that we are trying, very poorly mind you, to Christianize this pagan view of power, masculinity, force, and it doesn't work like that, you know. At the end of the day, you need to, as a Warhammer 40k fan, you need to ask yourself, why am I admiring this emperor of man, this god emperor of man, when we have Christ crucified? Why do we admire this lich cyborg sorcerer when again we have Christ crucified? And I'm not saying, well, isn't Christ the same thing? You know, no, Christ is the exact opposite, like literally the exact opposite. So, and I think, sadly, I think that a lot of people really like to use some fringe aspects of our holy tradition to literally go against the gospel. I will say that outright. For example, well, yeah, we should love our enemies, but, and there's always that but. You know, one of the quotes that go around is like, yeah, you should forgive your personal enemies, but you should smite the enemies of the homeland. And I think this is from, like, I don't know, Saint, for example, Philaret of Moscow. Well, Christ doesn't know that distinction between the enemies of the homeland or personal enemies. So we should love everybody, again, everybody, even if they're like emperor murdering Jews. We should, again, love them, pray for them, wish them the best. That does not mean or imply stupidity. That does not mean or imply complete and total passivity. However, a lot of these, you know, even when it comes to power, it all comes down to the state. Like, you're not meant to form these vigilante groups. You're not meant to make revolutionary bands, even if you're in a country that does not really align itself to Christian morals and so on, because, you know, I don't think I'm aware of any particularly Christian revolutionary movement. And I mean, there were some, but I don't think they ever managed to achieve anything. It's interesting that Christianity came to power in all of the countries where it came to power through conversion, through conviction. And again, I believe that a lot of our power worship that we encounter primarily online comes from the weakness of our own arguments. And again, sometimes arguments simply won't work. Christ says to the Pharisees, whatever I tell you, you won't let me go. So this is literally God who knows all of the outcomes of everything he says. And he knows in this 4D chess that in the position he's in, he won't be let go of by the Pharisees. And sometimes we have a lot of issues, you know, respecting other people's God-given free will. You know, Christ himself does not want to be freed from the hands of the Pharisees, even by force. We have that with Saint Peter. And people are like, oh, Charlemagne is cool. Because he said, you know, if I were there with my men, we would have freed him. That's that paganism talking from him. That is that Satan talking from him, in the sense of something that's opposing to the gospel, in the same sense that Christ calls Saint Peter Satan, not in the sense of like the devil talking from him. But there is also an element of that, because again, Satan is ultimately the one who worships and adores power and wants more of it, much more than it's proper to him, even as a head angel, you know. So ultimately, it's an icon of Satan. And you know, you Warhammer 40k fans, well, the Emperor is fighting demons. I mean, okay, he's fighting them in his universe, but you know, from Christian point of view, it's literally devil against the devil in order to bring you down. It's all a show, because you can't, when it comes to spiritual life, you can't live in a fantasy land again, because then the mundane spirituality, which is our next to exclusive source of holiness, of communion with Christ, of theosis, which is what is hesychasm all about, completely dies out. You know, the spirituality of 40k is essentially this very problematic Pentecostal emotions-based spirituality, and it's a problem. You know, if you like 40k, fine, love it. I love Warhammer Fantasy, like the medieval setting. I love it. But I would never make a holy object from... I would never make a holy object from the game and use it in my spiritual life. You know, it's just silly. Sometimes it's time to grow up. And I don't want to say stop playing games. It's okay. But you really need to ask yourself, if you're so worked up about purity seals, it's a really time to grow up. I mean, worked up in the sense of, because I'm getting worked up, because people are using literal toys in their spiritual life. Grow up. Bye.